What's something you grew up with that seemed completely normal until you became an adult and realized it wasn't? For me, it was the locked room. Every house has one room that's a little boring. A storage room, an office, a guest bedroom nobody uses. In our house, it was the room at the end of the hallway. The door was always locked. Always. I never saw it open. Not once. When I was 6 years old, I asked my mom what was inside. She smiled and said, just old stuff. That answer seemed reasonable. Kids don't care about old stuff, so I stopped asking. But as I got older, I noticed something strange. Nobody ever entered that room. Not my mom. Not my dad. Not even when relatives visited. It was just there, like part of the wallpaper. One day my cousin came over and jokingly asked what was behind the door. I proudly answered, that's our locked room. He laughed. Everybody has one? I nodded. I genuinely believe they did. The room became a family joke. Whenever something went missing, Dad would grin and say, maybe it's in the locked room. Everyone laughed, except Mom. She'd immediately change the subject. I never noticed it back then, but looking back, she always looked uncomfortable whenever anyone mentioned it. When I was 10, curiosity got the better of me. I waited until my parents were asleep. Then I grabbed a flashlight and quietly walked down the hallway. The house creaked beneath my feet. The locked door stood there at the end. Silent, still, mysterious. I knelt down and looked through the keyhole. Darkness. Nothing else. For some reason that made it even creepier. I remember running back to bed convinced there was a ghost inside. The next morning Mom somehow knew I'd been near the room. She never asked directly. Instead, she sat beside me during breakfast. Her voice was calm. Some doors stay closed for a reason. I nodded, but her words stayed with me for years. As I entered middle school, life seemed normal. Dad worked construction. Mom taught elementary school. We weren't rich. We weren't poor. Just ordinary. At least that's what I thought. Then came the first strange moment. I was 13. A water pipe burst in our kitchen. The plumber spent hours fixing everything. At one point he walked down the hallway and stopped at the locked door. Need me to check that room too? He asked. Mom immediately said no. Too quickly. Too firmly. The plumber looked surprised. Dad looked uncomfortable. The atmosphere changed instantly. I couldn't explain it, but something felt wrong. After he left, Mom checked the lock 3 separate times. That night I heard my parents arguing. Not loudly. Quietly. Like they didn't want me hearing. Dad said, we can't keep doing this forever. Mom replied, we have no choice. I lay awake for hours wondering what they meant. Years passed. The mystery remained. By high school, I'd mostly forgotten about it. Teenagers have bigger concerns. Friends, sports, dating, college applications. The locked room faded into the background. Then my senior year arrived. One Saturday morning I came home unexpectedly. I had forgotten my wallet. As I walked inside, I froze. The locked room door was open. For the first time in my life. Open. My heart nearly stopped. I quietly stepped closer. Inside wasn't a monster, or treasure, or anything dramatic. Just boxes. Hundreds of boxes. Stacked floor to ceiling. Every wall covered. Old newspapers. Photo albums. Receipts. Clothes. Toys. Furniture. There was barely room to walk. I stood there confused. Mom suddenly appeared behind me. The expression on her face terrified me. Not anger. Fear. Pure fear. She slammed the door shut, locked it, then started crying. I'd never seen my mother cry before. Not once. That moment changed everything. But nobody explained anything. A few months later I left for college. Life moved on. Or at least I thought it did. During my sophomore year, Dad called unexpectedly. His voice sounded exhausted. Mom had finally agreed to see a therapist. Apparently the room had become impossible to manage. The boxes were spreading. The garage was filling up. Closets too. Dad couldn't hide it anymore. That's when I learned the truth. Mom wasn't collecting things because she wanted them. She physically couldn't throw things away. Every object carried overwhelming emotional meaning. Old receipts, broken toys, empty containers, random magazines. To everyone else they looked like junk. To her they felt important, necessary, irreplaceable. The therapist diagnosed her with severe hoarding disorder. Suddenly my entire childhood made sense. The locked room, the panic, the secrecy, the arguments, everything. For years my parents had worked together to hide it. Not because they were ashamed of me, because they were ashamed of the illness. Over the next 2 years things slowly improved. Therapy helped. Support groups helped. Family counseling helped. It wasn't easy. Some days were terrible. Some weeks felt hopeless. But progress happened. One box at a time. One shelf at a time. One room at a time. Then came the moment I'll never forget. A few years after graduation, I came home for Thanksgiving. Dad opened the front door smiling. Come see something. He led me down the hallway. My heart immediately knew where we were going. The door stood open. Completely open. Sunlight poured through the window. Fresh paint covered the walls. The boxes were gone. The clutter was gone. Everything was gone. In the center of the room sat a simple actually smiling. She looked lighter somehow. Healthier. Free. I asked her how she felt. She looked around the room for a long moment. Then said something I'll never forget. For years I thought the stuff was protecting me. She paused. Tears filling her eyes. But it was really trapping me. As a child, I thought every family had a mysterious locked room. As a teenager, I thought my parents were hiding a secret. As an adult, I realized they were fighting a battle I couldn't see. And suddenly, my entire childhood made sense.